Kienholz over Sayin, this battle's heating up.
You are Locked On Buckeyes, your daily podcast on the Ohio State Buckeyes. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome in, Buckeye fans, to your Monday edition of Locked On Buckeyes, which is your daily Ohio State podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your host, Jay Stevens, also the host of the Jay Stevens Podcast. And today's episode is brought to you by TurboTax. Ready for stress-free taxes and the most money back guaranteed? Head over to TurboTax.com today and get matched with your expert. During today's show, we'll discuss the first and second year players that are mixing in with the ones, as well as some high praise Carson Hinzman threw at Bo Jackson. But first, one thing we all need to remember about Ohio State's QB battle is that it's a marathon. It's not a sprint. You can't look at one or two practices and say that's a large enough sample size to hand the title of QB1 over to one player. You can't do that. And over the weekend, Sayin was the front runner going into the Student Appreciation Day scrimmage by many people. But over the weekend, Lincoln Kienholz was the guy that outperformed the favorite to be Ohio State starting quarterback. And I like that. I like the fact that the underdog in this battle is showing up when all the eyes are on him and on the quarterbacks, trying to figure out who has the upper hand. He makes the biggest throw of the day. He's the more accurate quarterback. He handles pressure a lot better than Julian Sayin. And this is a big deal. It's also showing that this battle might be closer than you think it is. And I love that. I love close battles. I want two players that are really, really talented to rise to the occasion, but also I want to see how one of them that might not play their best ball, I want to see how you bounce back. I want to see how you handle adversity. I want to see how you handle pressure. I want to see, do you have what it takes to hold this title? Because as y'all know, being a starting quarterback at Ohio State, it's a big deal. Ryan Day calls it one of the biggest honors in the sport. It doesn't get much better than being a starting quarterback at Ohio State. Those are Ryan Day's exact words. And for these two quarterbacks, they could have rolled in there cocky. Man, I got this, man. I don't need to hear nothing from nobody else. I got it in the back. And they just rolled in there super, super cocky, made one mistake, and then crumbled under pressure. Well, also, they could have made one mistake and said, okay, cool, that's behind me. The next play, what's going to happen next? And bounce back very, very quickly. And I think for Sayin, he can learn from this day. He is a quarterback that can learn while he struggled with accuracy under pressure and threw the only interception during the scrimmage. He can do what's needed to not allow that to mess his mentals up. Now, for Lincoln Kienholz, this is what you want, and this is what you need. You need a day like this when there's a lot of eyeballs on you. You have the students there for Student Appreciation Day. You have a lot of media cover the team there as well. You have former players. A lot of guys are on last year's Natty team back there watch. You got a lot of recruits. You got a lot of guys out there watching you. And you know Lincoln Kienholz in high school rose to the occasion. He was a state champion in some sports. He was all-state in some things. He knew how to overcome adversity at the previous level. And I say that because you saw that then, but this is different. Ohio State's a different animal than any high school you know of, or any prep school you know of. Ohio State's just different in the best way. It finds a way to weed out the bad apples and get those weeds or the guys that are trying to be cancerous in the locker room to kick them out too. And Kienholz could have looked at this day, seen the big old stage he was about to walk on and say, man, I ain't got it, y'all. I know what all the people are saying about me. I know exactly what people are writing about me. And I know the younger quarterback, well, the middle quarterback here is the younger one that's saying that people already giving him the title. And I don't really want to handle all the pressure of outperforming him and then all of a sudden getting more eyeballs on me. He could have easily done that, but he didn't do it. Absolutely not. He was the man. And think about what the offense will be if Sayin is the starting quarterback versus what the offense will look like if Kienholz is the starting quarterback. I think that's a big question, big topic to look at, because I'm not going to shy away from things I said here on the show. I do think at the end of the day that Julian Sayin is going to win the starting quarterback role. A year ago, during the same practice, the Student Appreciation Day practice, during spring of 2024, Devin Brown outperformed Will Howard. Will Howard won the job. Will Howard was the front runner, even on that day, and even throughout fall and throughout summer and fall. Will Howard was a guy that was the front runner, even though he didn't perform the best on one day, he still was a guy that was a favorite to win the job. And I'm not going to sit up here and say this year's quarterback battle will be similar to last year's, where the favorite doesn't perform the best on a day of a scrimmage, but then wins the job at the end of the day. I'm not sitting up here going to say that, because I do think this is a lot closer than the QB battle was last year, or when McCord won the battle over Brown, or even the Stroud and Fields when they won the quarterback battle. I think this is the closest quarterback battle Ryan Day's ever had during his time as head coach at Ohio State. And that's going to make this team a whole lot better, well, down the road. There might be early season struggles. I know there's that Texas game week 1, which I have kind of called a toss-up at times. I've also leaned towards the away team winning that game for some various obvious reasons. But maybe a battle like this, and finding out how a player might dig deep to make big throws, or how a player might need to hold his own teammates accountable after a bad play, you can learn a lot about a player now to give you more confidence during that game. Also, I haven't really talked about this much, but this seems like a good time to bring it up. I am hoping that Fox and NBC do some type of trade, or Fox and even CBS do a trade, so that game is not at 12 noon. Give me the 3:30 afternoon game on CBS, or give me the primetime game on NBC. Don't make that big noon. That would be horrible for this kind of matchup. I will say the same thing. I don't like that Ohio State Michigan's always at 12 noon. I don't like it at all. I don't like that Penn State and Ohio State over the past few years has been at 12 noon. I don't like it at all. I think for this kind of matchup, Fox can do the same thing it did with the Ohio State Notre Dame game that was played in the shoe, do a trade, I believe it was with NBC, and that was a night game. I hope that happens. I am a person that am leaning, if I was behind the closed doors in those meetings, I'll be pushing very, very hard for that to happen, because that kind of matchup needs it. Arch Manning versus one of these two guys, it's kind of one of those matchups where you better get your popcorn ready, because you don't know what's going to happen. You want to watch and be as comfortable as you can for all 4 quarters to watch that game. And for that game, you want a quarterback that's gone through the fire during the offseason. You want a quarterback, maybe Kienholz or Sayin, that has overcome adversity during the offseason, where you have seen on the practice field their ups, their downs, how they bounce back. Do they rise to the occasion, or do they crumble under pressure? You want to be able to see that. And right now during spring practice, they're doing that. Lincoln Kienholz outperformed Sayin, and I love every part of that. I love the competitor, the fiery guy, the kid that has the moxie, doing that on that stage, and all eyes are on him. And Kienholz is doing what is needed to keep this thing close, to keep this battle competitive. Remember, the QB battle, it's a marathon. It's not a sprint. And I think Lincoln Kienholz has that in mind every time he's out there on the football field, battling with Sayin to earn the title of QB1. Speaking of earning a title of being a starter at Ohio State, Bo Jackson's the guy that's trying to do that. And a current starter at Ohio State recently heaped some high praise on the true freshman. This is a message from our sponsor, Intuit TurboTax. Taxes was waiting and wondering and worrying if you were going to get any money back, and then waiting, wondering, and worrying some more. Now Taxes is matching with a TurboTax expert who can do your taxes as soon as today. An expert who gives your taxes their undivided attention as they work on your return, while you get real-time updates on their progress so you can focus on your day. An expert who will find you every deduction possible and file every form, every investment, and do everything with 100% accuracy. All so you can get the most money back guaranteed. No waiting, no wondering, no worries. Now this is Taxes. Get an expert now on TurboTax.com. Only available with TurboTax Live Full Service. Real-time updates only in iOS mobile app. See guarantee details at TurboTax.com/guarantees. Thank you all for tapping in Locked on Buckeyes and making this show your first listen of the day. Many people might be scratching their head about Kienholz outperforming Sayin during the Buckeye Student Appreciation Day scrimmage and wondering, did I make the wrong prediction? Maybe, but also maybe you didn't. But while Kienholz is a guy that's trying to get on the field and be a starter at Ohio State in the fall, there are some first and second. Oh, no, I'm a little bit ahead of myself. There's a first-year guy named Bo Jackson that heaped some received high praise from Carson Hinzman. And shortly after the media walked into the practice facility for the scrimmage there on Saturday, one thing Bo Jackson did was get the attention of those covering the event. He broke multiple tacklers to gain 11 yards on a very tough run between the tackles. And right after that, Carson Hinzman walked by and made a remark that summed up the way that Bo Jackson was playing on that day. Quote, "Bo like that for real," end quote. Carson Hinzman is one of those guys that when you look out there and see the guys toting the rock, he can see if a guy has it or if he doesn't. I mean, a year ago, he was blocking for Quinshon Judkins and Trevion Anderson. Remember Mayan Williams? He blocked for him too. There are a lot of guys that Hinzman's been able to block for that have been really good backs on the Scarlet and Gray. And while Bo Jackson is a true freshman, I don't think Hinzman would make that type of statement if Bo wasn't like that for real. Just be honest with you. I think Bo Jackson has a shot to be the third running back for Ohio State this year. Wouldn't be the third oldest running back there as far as tenure playing college football. That would go to Sam Williams-Dixon. Sam Williams-Dixon was in the portal. He came back to Ohio State. He got some bad advice from the people. Believed he had to take control of his own life, and he did that coming back to Ohio State. Sam Williams-Dixon is talented, but I don't think his skill set is the one that Bo Jackson is similar to Bo Jackson's. And I think for this young man, take advantage of this moment. Similar to Kienholz. Kienholz is a guy that's been around for a little bit, played, got thrown into the fire in the Cotton Bowl, and last year fell down the depth chart. He had every right to be disgruntled. He had every reason to leave and go to the portal. He did, but no, he stuck around the fight. Similar to Devin Brown did the same thing a year ago. And I think at the end of the day, that Kienholz will be a better college football quarterback than Devin Brown. I don't know if I've said that on the show before, but we talk every day. But the everydayers realize that my thoughts for Devin Brown aren't different than other people's thoughts. These people that I would trust as far as being football analysts. And I do think Kienholz has the goods to be a better quarterback than Devin Brown, at least at the college level. But Bo Jackson, you need a guy that's third running back that's like this. You need someone that is able to run between the tackles, especially in today's college football. If you want to run outside zone or stretch plays all day long or powers that are gap schemes but still running on the outside, cool, you could do that, absolutely. But at the end of the day, as you get deeper into November and you go into playing for a conference championship, into the playoff, you have to be able to run between the tackles. No matter if it's a zone scheme or a gap run scheme, doesn't matter what kind of call it is, you got to be able to run between the tackles. Bo Jackson's built for that. Ohio State's had a very good run of getting true freshman running backs that are built for college football right now. Think about Dallin Hayden when he was a senior in high school, when he committed to Ohio State. I remember watching his film and looking at him in interviews and thinking, homie is built for this right now. Bo Jackson coming off of an injury in his senior year of high school, he could have been someone bouncing back as quickly as you would like. No, he's bouncing back, and homie had that run. He also broke off a 20-yard plus run before the end of practice. That was also including a shotgun toss play that once again showed off a different skill set and one of those guys that's emerging as a threat to not only get carries, but I think you need a third running back with this group. And my gut says it's Bo Jackson. I could even see Turbo Rogers jumping Sam Williams-Dixon in the depth chart. I don't think Dixon should go to the portal. Let me get that out of the way really quickly. I don't think Dixon, if he falls down the depth chart like Kienholz did a year ago, I don't think he should go to the portal after the end of this upcoming season. I don't. I think that's just a way for you to realize, how do I get better? Find different ways throughout the offseason, throughout your coaches, and if you need a one-on-one coach as well, doesn't matter. Find various ways now, heading into the season, to get better after next season. Find ways to get better as well. Now, Bo Jackson wasn't the only guy that stood out during practice. Caden McDonald was another one that you may expect him to kind of show up and show out. What you expect sometimes doesn't always happen. But for Caden McDonald, it did once again. He blew up some plays throughout the practice as well, making his biggest raised up the goal line run for a loss and popping off with a pretty big man celebration. That's what you want. Caden McDonald is a guy that's going to be a guy you game plan for. Here's the issue for opposing defenses. You're going to have to game plan for Caden McDonald, Edric Houston, Keanu Jackson Jr. I mean, at least three guys on the D line you have to game plan for. Now, if you're putting all your attention at various guys along the way, what are you going to have to find? Well, Caden Curry might not get all the attention in the film room, but you got a game plan for that guy too, because Caden Curry is a playmaker. And I love guys like this in Caden McDonald that know that the eyes are on them, know that they are going to start in the fall, but also realizing I am not going to let all these people in this building to watch me practice and just lay an egg. It's not going to happen. Also going down the list, you got Aaron Scott Jr., Peyton Pierce, Quincy Porter, who was also Porter, that is, the first freshman to shed his black stripe over after practice, which is huge. That's very, very big for Quincy Porter, a guy that I don't expect to start at all. I don't expect him to even be in the top 5 or 6 in that room. But if there's a guy that could compete for the 5th spot, which I think right now is a competition between like 4, 5, and 6, is probably Mylan Graham, Bryson Rogers, and Quincy Porter. Porter being the outside 4 and 5 could be swapped back and forth depending on the flavor of the day. I do think Quincy Porter could find himself on the field. Making plays during a practice is great. You got to be able to block. It's a staple of a Brian Hartline receiver. It's a staple of a Ryan Day receiver. You got to be able to block, because the first way for you to show you're doing the things right to get on the field is to block over and over and over. On the edge, if you're going in motion, you have to block there. Just find a way to get on the field by blocking, but also be a special teams guy. There are also, Peyton Pierce. One thing about Peyton Pierce, we're going to talk about him in the very next segment too. Sonny Styles is one of those guys like Caleb Downs that is not going all out during spring practice. He's kind of being limited for various reasons, because for Styles, he played a lot last year. While he played a lot, he's not going to go all out right now in the spring. Now he's going to ramp things up in the fall to get up speed very, very quickly before week 1 against Texas. But it's very similar to an NFL vet. A lot of NFL vets in spring or OTAs are going to be out there, but they're going to be held back. Why? To preserve their body, to relax a little bit. Not relax as far as taking a load off, but not allowing all the wear and tear of the off season to slow them down in the season. So Peyton Pierce is one that's getting a lot more run right now during the spring. He's taking full advantage of it. Other guys that I kind of listed a little bit that did well, and this is one of them. But you got to think, these guys are showing up, and they're kind of being standouts alongside Lincoln Kienholz during spring practice, during a big-time scrimmage. All that's good, but it's also good to know about the youngsters, the first and second-year guys that are mixing in with the ones. We'll dive into those players next. This episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. Ever took your bank account and wonder, where did all my money go? Between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment, it's easy to lose track. That's where Monarch Money comes in. Your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app, it's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place. So you just stop managing your money and start building wealth. When I started using Monarch, I realized just how much I was spending on food delivery. Now, I budget smarter and save more. Instead of juggling multiple apps, you can use Monarch to check your finances, track spending, and even plan long-term goals. Managing money with your partner is smoother than ever. You can track shared and personal accounts, set goals, and stay on the same page without the stress. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONCollege for half off your first year. Thank y'all for tapping Locked On Buckeyes and making this show your first listen of the day. Ohio State is very, very, very fortunate to have a lot of the players that are currently on the roster because they got guys that are freshmen that will start at a lot of places around the country. And some of those guys we've talked about already. Some of those guys we haven't dove into a lot. We're going to go offense and then defense and break this down just like that to kind of look at some of the guys that are currently getting some run with the ones. On the offensive side of the ball, we already talked about Bo Jackson getting in the mix and getting some reps with the ones during the scrimmage on Saturday. Mylan Graham is also getting some reps with the ones. Max LeBlanc, tight end, getting run there as well. And then Ian Moore got run at left tackle and right tackle. And I think all of those guys, we're going to talk about one guy later on that's not a part of this group, that's still kind of being a Swiss Army knife. I think all of those guys, Jackson, Graham, LeBlanc, and Moore, I think all of them have a shot to play. Maybe they won't start, but I believe all of them have I think LeBlanc is one of those ones that could be, hey, it wouldn't shock me if he jumps to Lonnie Thurman. Because right now you got Will Kazmarek, you got Bennett Christian. Well, excuse me, you got Max Player. So that doesn't really, I think LeBlanc's going to, he could jump to Lonnie Thurman, yes. Let me think this clearly. Because I had a thought in my head, then it kind of went elsewhere. You got Will Kazmarek, you got Max Player. Those two guys are going to be the top two guys there. You got Bennett Christian. So LeBlanc could logistically be, like, literally be your fourth tight end in the room. That's huge. A youngster that's been in the program for just a little bit, figuring out how to get on the field, figuring out what it takes, what Coach Key demands of guys in that room. It's similar to what Hartline needs. If you're a tight end at Ohio State, it goes with your job description to be a good blocking tight end. That's one of the easiest ways to get out there. They know you can run routes. They know you got hands. They know you have a lot of things that allow you to get on campus and wear the scarlet and gray. But you got to be able to block and over and defensive ends and block down on the D tackle and go out and block somebody in space. Whoever it is, you got to be able to block. I think Max LeBlanc getting run with the ones right now is huge. On the defensive side of the ball, there's a whole lot more players getting runs with the ones. Peyton Pierce, TJ Alford, Riley Pettijohn, Aaron Scott Jr., Devin Sanchez, Bryce West, Raheem Delane, and Leroy Roker. We haven't talked about Roker a lot. I don't think he's going to be a starter. But this just goes to talk about the growth of the young man. And the coaches really love him. The coaches love what he brings to the table, his growth as a player, the physicality he brings. They like him a lot. And we know Caleb Downs is very limited due to a nagging injury. There's going to be more safeties, especially younger safeties, that are getting playing time right now. Raheem Delane, another kid that was an incoming freshman that I am very high on. One of those guys that if it wasn't for Jalen McClain and Malik Hartford, could have a legit shot to play a lot this year. I wonder with that nickel corner spot where Bryce West got a lot of run there along with Lorenzo Styles Jr. I wonder if Bryce West gets that job or if Raheem Delane is one that's going to try to push him a little bit to get that job too. Bryce West more of an outside corner. That's what he was brought into Ohio State to be. But when you got those guys on the outside and Igben Olsen on one side and Matthews Jr. on the other, what is the quickest route for the young man to get on the field? It would probably be that nickel corner spot. Very similar to a Jordan Hancock role. We talk about him a lot. We'll talk about him more over the next few weeks leading into the NFL draft, where Jordan Hancock was probably a better outside corner in the NFL than he was a nickel corner, but there was a bigger need on the inside corner spot for him to get on the field, and he took advantage of it. Oh, wait, coach, you need me to be more of a Swiss Army knife and go back to play the deep safety role due to some changes we're making in the middle of the season for the defense? Great. We'll do whatever it takes to get on the field. Coaches love that. Carson Hinsman, literally a year ago, he was the backup center. And then there was an injury, and he's thrust into the starting left guard spot in a big role, a big game against Penn State. And what do you find? Carson Hinsman was the next man up, and he played big boy ball. you kind of have to do whatever it takes to get on the field and to fill in where the holes are. There's a hole right now at that nickel corner spot, and while I have a guess about who it's going to be, these players can change every person's mind by their play on the field and saying, oh, no, no, no. That's what you think is going to happen. Here's what's actually going to happen. Devin Sanchez, I don't think he's going to start the outside corner, but could he be the Jermaine Matthews Jr. of this year's defense? Absolutely. A guy that can play back and forth, go to either corner spot, either in an injury situation or giving a player a rest, whatever the case may be. He can be that guy. Aaron Scott Jr., he's going to play. He's going to play. This cat's going to be so good. Just you wait. Just you wait. This cat is going to be a lot of fun to watch. Now, the linebacker spot is very, very interesting because Pierce, Alfred, and Pettijohn are trying to play in two linebacker spots. But I think the interesting thing about these guys is very similar to the Arvell Reese situation, where Arvell Reese is a menace off the edge. Like, really good. The coaches are even talking about it. Yeah, Hicks is moving from outside backer to, weak side linebacker to outside backer off the edge. They say defensive end, but trust me, man, he's going to be more of your standard 2-point stance defensive end that's going to be rushing the passer like a madman. That's what you want. But Arvell Reese also, let's just say at some point, they put both those guys out there on the edge. And don't do the double eagle thing where you have two guys on the outside and a 2-point stance and three guys on the inside and 3-point stance. No, let's just say it's more of a legit 4-2-5 look, but your outside guys are Arvell Reese and CJ Hicks, and then your backers are Sonny Styles and Peyton Pierce. Think about the nightmare that's going to be for an opponent. Where you have Reese, who has shown he can play linebacker at a high level. You have Hicks, who is probably going to be an edge rusher at the next level if he can get there. I think Hicks has a shot to get drafted next year. That's a massive projection because based on what we have seen, no, it's not going to happen because we don't even know what's going to be off the edge. We have no idea. We don't. But this is his best shot to get drafted into the National Football League. I think this trio of young backers, they're going to compete for playing time this year. But also when it comes to special teams, all three of these guys, Pierce, Alfred, and Pettijohn, all three of them are going to be special teams players for Ohio State. I love the youth in Columbus. I love the energy in Columbus by this unit. And I love what we got to see from a lot of the guys over the weekend. Let's circle back to Kienholz really quick before we close up shop. I think the offense will be more versatile if Lincoln Kienholz is the starting quarterback at Ohio State. Julian Sayin has a lot of talent. He's known for being an elite processor of the football, has a very quick release, which jumps off the screen. However, Kienholz is more athletic. There's a certain look to Kienholz as when the ball comes out of his hand that Sayin doesn't. They both have unique traits when they throw the football. But Kienholz's athleticism and being more of a dual-threat quarterback is a kind of player that I think Hartline wants to utilize in the offense. Everyone wants to say, well, Sayin's going to throw the ball around to these receivers, and it's going to be more of a 4-receiver look at times for Hartline. I'm not ready to say that. Not at all. Because Ryan Day wants more of a dual-threat quarterback. He doesn't want somebody that's just going to be a standing in the pocket or a little bit mobile but not really having the speed to run past or run around some guys on the opposing defense. Kienholz has that. So while Sayin's a great quarterback or has a chance to be a great quarterback, I think Kienholz's athleticism and his ability to be more of a dual threat will be the right shakeup that Ohio State wants in their offense. I don't know if he's going to be a starting quarterback in the fall, but I think outperforming Sayin during the Student Appreciation Day scrimmage is a step in the right direction. It's going to help that man build confidence throughout the rest of the offseason. Thank you all for tapping Locked On Buckeyes right here on a Monday. You can follow me on any social media platform at jstevens07. Send every email to jstevens317@gmail.com. It's on Locked On Buckeyes right here on a Monday. We'll see you next time.